All right. I give up. I've had it. I've had enough. I'm at the end of my rope. I have tried and 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 tried over the last 4 or 5 years to look at the college football glass as half full, to accept the changes that have come, willingly or unwillingly. I've done my best on here as a college football content creator to try to put a positive spin on a lot of these things, the 12-team playoff, conference expansion, on and on, transfer portal. It's gotten too much even for me now. Now, let me tell you what I'm not saying here before we go on with the video. I am not saying I'm not watching college football anymore, or college football is ruined, or, oh my God, they killed college football. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just as much a college football fan today as I was yesterday or a year ago. I love college football. I think it's the greatest sport on earth, but nothing's perfect. That includes college football. But there is just too much now. I can no longer come on here. It was never my job to defend college football or the changes it made. I love college football. I was willing to give all of the changes a try and, see how it goes. And look, I enjoyed the 12-team playoff. Were there blowouts in the first round? Yeah, but my thoughts on that. There's always blowouts in college football. It's just always been that way. It always will. College football is not a level playing field sport like professional sports or some other sports. So it's the blowouts didn't bother me. I mean, I don't enjoy a blowout any more than you do, but I don't see a blowout and then use that as proof that, oh, they shouldn't have done that because we had a blowout. You have blowouts in the 4 teams and all that, but now they're doing away with spring games now. They're doing away with non-conference games. Not completely, but if you've been paying attention over the last week or so, I'm sure you've heard a lot of this news. But, first it was Nebraska and Matt Rule coming out with we're not going to hold a spring game because other teams watch our spring game and then they say, oh, that guy's good. Let's go get him. Let's pay him more money than Nebraska's paying him and bring him over here. Now Texas and Southern Cal are not holding spring games. Florida State's not holding a spring game. And look, the Florida State spring game is canceled because of stadium renovations. Okay. You can play a spring game somewhere else. You don't have to play it in Doak. So that's not the real reason, okay? Miami has never held a spring game in their own stadium because they don't have one. They hold it at a high school or whatever else. If Florida State and Mike Norvell wanted to hold a spring game, they could. They're choosing not to. Texas, we're not going to do a spring game. College football is changing. What's the point? There's no need in doing it. We played 30 games in the last 2 years. We had to play all the way up until the middle of January. Okay. A spring game would be 3 months after that. 90-day. Spring games are played in the middle to end of April, generally. So you played on January 12th or whatever it was. January 12th to February 12th to March 12th to April 12th would be 3 months. You can't play 90 days. Isn't enough rest. The non-con game situation. It's going to create a big mess and a big problem for me. All of these teams are now canceling their future non-conference games. Georgia's had a thing with UCLA get canceled. Everybody's canceling all their big non-con games that are coming up down the road. Why? Well, the SEC is going to non-conference games. The SEC and the Big Ten have another one of these fake scheduling agreements that we saw one of these between the ACC and the Pac-12. What happened? How'd that work out? What about all these rivalry games, the rivalry games that are played at the end of the year? Georgia versus Georgia Tech, Florida versus Florida State, Clemson versus South Carolina, Louisville versus Kentucky, Notre Dame versus Southern Cal. Non-conference rivalry games that have traditionally been played the last weekend of the regular season, Thanksgiving weekend, since the beginning of time. I got news. Those are going away, folks. Those games are going away. I haven't announced that yet, but that's what's going to happen. Maybe we get lucky and they move some of those games to the beginning of the season, which I'm not okay with that. These games have been played at the end of the year, always and forever. If you have a year, take Michigan last year as an example, okay? And I'm not picking on Michigan. This happens to a lot of teams all the time. Michigan didn't have a great year last year. They had no chance to make the playoffs or any type of real postseason type accomplishment, right? They had lost way too many games in the regular season. You don't think they were excited and kept focused and kept their mind where it needed to be because they knew that Ohio State game was coming up at the end of the year? And I know that's a conference game, and that game can still be played at the end of the year. But I'm extrapolating that out to these games that aren't going to Clemson, South Carolina, because they're redoing the conference. The conference championship weekend is going to be 2 weekends long now. 4 teams make it to a conference tournament. Now, not the best team in the conference. That would make too much sense. It might sound like I'm rambling on a bunch of different things here, but it's because there are a bunch of things, and they're all pissing me off. The conference tournament thing is ridiculous. You're going to crown a regular season champion. Whoever the best team in the regular season is for, let's say, the SEC gets crowned a regular season SEC champion. Then you're going to hold a conference tournament. But that team's not in it. The best team's not in the conference championship tournament. Oh, teams 2 through 5 are in the but not team 1. What are we doing? What are we doing? So because of that tournament they're going to hold at the end of the year, that they're going to have to play conference games up to the end of the regular season, which means Clemson and South Carolina, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, Florida State, Louisville, Kentucky, Southern Cal, Notre Dame, whatever, fill in the blank, non-con rivalry games that have been played in Thanksgiving are going to either go away or get moved to week 1 or week 2 or whatever it is. And look, I'll still watch Georgia play Georgia Tech in week 1 or Florida, Florida State. I'll still watch those games. It doesn't ruin those games. But it's another thing you're taking away. Rivalry weekend. It's going to be gone. Let's get back to the spring games. I have been beating the spring game drum since the minute this channel started. One of the first football videos on this channel is me at a spring game. The spring games are a unique experience unto themselves, and they are amazing. If you've never been to one, I have been begging people to go to their team spring games again since I started this channel. Why? If you're a young man with a family or a wife and a couple of young kids or whatever, it can be unaffordable to go to a regular season game these days. I get it. The spring game was an opportunity for people to see their team in their stadium and get pretty close to a game day experience for next to no money at all. For a long time, tickets were free. Even if you had to buy them, they were dirt cheap. A first come, first serve. You could take your young kids there. Use Georgia as an example. You get the whole tailgate scene is there. The dog walk is there. The band is there. The cheerleaders are there. You get a bunch of ex-players that are on the sideline. The kids go down. They get their autographs signed. It's fun. It's for the fans. Which tells me it's going away because they don't care about you. They don't care about you. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. When it comes to their plans for college football or what they intend to do or not do, you as a fan are the absolute last thing they think of. Hell, was it Mike Norvell or Steve Sarkisian? One of them. Let me see if I can find it because I don't want to credit this to the wrong person. One of the coaches straight up said, look, the spring games are really just for the fans. Like, we don't get much out of it as a team. So what? Fuck the fans? I got to see which coach it was. Here it is. Here we go. So who was this? Southern Cal, Lincoln Riley. A Southern Cal source said there's not much upside to spring games because of risk of injury. Is that a new development? Look, I'm not going to minimize injuries when it comes to college football. Nobody likes them. And can they happen? Yeah. They can happen in the preseason. They can happen in the offseason. They can happen a week before game 1. They can happen in the middle of the season. You can sprain your ankle at halftime of a game. And they can happen in spring games. That's also true. Risk of injury is not a reason to cancel a football game because there's risk of injury in every football game. If you start using risk of injury, this has been my problem with people sitting out bowl games. Well, what if I get hurt in the bowl game? Well, what if you go check your mail and piano falls on your fucking head? You still got to check the mail, man. Football players play football. And again, I'm not minimizing the risk of injury, but to hear somebody come out and just straight say it like, look, if we play a spring game, somebody might get hurt. And the spring game is only for the fans anyway. Fuck you, fan. They're telling you that to your face. There's not much upside to spring games because of the risk of injury. Quote, the biggest purpose that a spring game actually serves now is fan engagement. Is there something wrong with that? Is there something wrong with doing something for the fans? God knows when you need a new doorknob in the athletic facility, you engage with the fans by sending them a donation email. I mean, this is just getting completely out of hand and completely out of control. They are taking all of the fun, excitement, and joy and ripping it away from college football. And I know, like I said, I'm still going to watch, which is why they don't care, because those TV checks that the schools are getting are going to continue to come in. The games are going to continue to sell out. Idiots like me are going to keep watching and begging for more while they continue to bend me over at every fucking opportunity. They don't care. They do not care. Some of the biggest positives in college football are being yanked away, and no one seems to care. Big non-con games. Let me ask you something. The 2025 season is coming up, right? It's 6 months away or whatever it is. But I mean, that's eventually we'll be there. Think about some of the games you're looking forward to the most. Clemson, LSU. Is it Texas, Michigan again, or Texas, Ohio State, whatever it is? These big non-con games. They're going away. They're going away. Maybe something comes of this SEC Big Ten scheduling thing. But again, are you buying that? Are you buying that? Until I see one of those things played, I ain't buying it. I'm not buying it. Non-conference games, Georgia plays Georgia Tech every year. That's a 10th game. So what? Now we play Michigan now, and then who? I don't know. The spring games, man. This has really put me over the edge. These spring games are so much fun. They are so you don't have the like anxiety or sort of worry that you do with a regular season game. Oh my God, what if we lose? There's none of that. It's just, hey, let's go. Let's get a look at the new freshmen that have come in. This is our first time seeing them with a Georgia helmet on, or Michigan or Ohio State, whoever your team happens to be. Maybe you had a quarterback that graduated last year or entered the draft or whatever, and so you're going to have a new quarterback this year, and this is your first real opportunity to get to see him play a lot, so you're excited to go see that. Or again, maybe it's just the atmosphere. Maybe it's the affordability. Look, I can't, for those of you that don't go to games for whatever reason, that other than financial, and so maybe you don't know, it costs a king's ransom to take a family of four to a college football game, especially if you have to buy tickets on the secondhand market like most people do. There's people out there whose family maybe has had season tickets forever, and so they go to a bunch of games. I'm not talking about those people. Not that those people don't matter. Of course those people matter. I'm talking about sort of your average fan that would love nothing more to be able to go to one game a year. Maybe take a couple of kids, right? Young kids, create some memories, try to pass on their fanhood of their team down to their children by taking them to see that team play and taking in the environment and the experience and the tailgating and the band. And in Georgia's case, the dog walk, but almost every team does some version of that, right? The chants that go along with everything. It's unaffordable for a lot of young people with kids. It's just unaffordable to do that. The spring game was a great alternative. Extremely cheap. The weather is unbelievable almost everywhere in the country the second week of April, third week of April. Down here in the South, you're looking anywhere from the, maybe mid to upper 60s to mid to upper 80s, depending on what the weather patterns happen to be like for that particular year. Up north, maybe a little bit cooler, but still great weather, relatively speaking. Great weather compared to, a traditional fall or winter football game. The weather is great. The atmosphere is amazing. It's affordable. In a lot of cases, these schools used to give tickets away for free to their spring games. If they're charging now, it's usually not that much, or it's a first come, first serve. You literally just show up, pay $5 and walk in, sit wherever you want. Ex-players there, autographs, laid back, no anxiety about winning or losing. It's just an unbelievable experience. Again, does it compare to going to see your team play their rival during the season, or going to a huge conference matchup that could determine playoff possibilities, or going to watch your team play a major non-con game or something like? No, it's a different. It's not even that the spring game is better or worse than those things I just named. It's a totally different. It's almost not even relatable to going to an actual college football game during the season, but that doesn't mean it's any less fun. It's just different. And it's another thing that people like me, 45, 46 years old, that have been watching college football for 30 years, it's another one of these things that I have loved forever, specifically about college football. They don't do this in the NBA. Major League Baseball has spring training games, a bunch of them, but this is something that college football fans have grown up. It's part of their fanhood. It comes during a time of year where it's been 3 months since we saw any football. It's another 3 months before we see any more football. It was something to sort of keep us going, and they're taking it away, because they don't want to lose a player to the portal, or they don't want their wide receiver to twist his ankle, or it's only for the fans. It doesn't do us any good. I don't know. Again, keep in mind what I'm not saying. I am not saying I'm giving up on college football. I'm not watching college football. I'm no longer a college football fan. I love college football too much to walk away. And unfortunately, maybe the people in control know that. They're definitely counting on that. For the sake of college football and for the sake of my fanhood of college football, I hope they're right. I hope they can do whatever they want, not care about the fans at all, and the fans continue to watch. I will. Will everybody else? I don't know.